This is Community Close-Up with Jay Dow.
What should be done about hardworking migrants in the country illegally and swept up in ICE immigration raids? Should they be allowed to stay in the U.S. or be deported?
It feels like you're being hunted.
Plus, it's the nation's first of its kind, a K-12 Black Studies curriculum. It's right here in New York City, and it's turning the celebration of Black History Month into a family affair.
They get the benefit of serving their community and the dignity of that, helping other people in need when, they themselves have been helped too.
A powerful new volunteering effort built on the goodwill of adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, helping families in need. It's the latest edition of Our Community, Your Voice. Welcome to PIX11 Community Close-Up. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host, Jay Dow. Regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, immigration advocate or Trump administration supporter, recent ICE agent sweeps are directly impacting our communities, especially for hardworking migrants with no criminal record. Many of those migrants have been taken away, collateral arrests, and countless others are wondering anxiously if they'll be next. We went out to Staten Island to meet a mixed immigration status family with roots in their community and who even have the support of their conservative neighbors. The question is, will it matter if ICE agents come knocking? In countless kitchens across New York City, there are people like Edgar working hard behind the scenes at the San Geronimo Restaurant and Bakery on Staten Island, cooking up the good stuff, helping to keep family restaurants like this in business. But it is Edgar who says he's hungry for something more elusive. Some semblance of peace, as he and other members of the city's law-abiding migrant community anxiously wait for that dreadful morning when ICE agents might show up and deliver that fateful knock at the front door.
Pero no está bien que a toda la gente que trabaja, que se esfuerza, que lucha día al día.
8 of the 20 migrants caught up during recent ICE sweeps in New York City reportedly had no criminal record.
No sale la gente por miedo a que los deporten.
Edgar's bosses, Antonio and Sarahi Marquez, are no different. A dynamic, entrepreneurial, mixed immigration status father and daughter team, also living in a constant state of worry.
It feels like you're being hunted.
Antonio left his native Mexico for the U.S. almost 27 years ago and is still undocumented. Why? He told us since losing an employer-sponsored green card years ago, he's been left with a restrictive list of options for citizenship. None of them, he says, are realistic at this stage in his life. They include serving in the military, marrying a U.S. citizen, obtaining another employer-sponsored visa, or being sponsored by a relative who is already a U.S. citizen.
A lot of people are scared, but we have to continue.
Sarahi, her father, and Edgar, who we met in the kitchen, say they are all keenly aware that by deciding to speak out, they are risking putting themselves on the radar of ICE agents, especially as raids are now underway across New York City. So I'm asking you, face to face, why aren't you scared?
Yo no tengo ningún delito, solamente vengo a trabajar.
Antonio and Sarahi own their family home, 2 businesses, this restaurant and the deli at the corner, and employ nearly 30 people, some of whom are also undocumented. None of it is in Antonio's name because of his undocumented status, but Sarahi says it's all driven by her dad's pursuit of the American dream.
We're entrepreneurs, we're working hard, we don't have any criminal records, we're following the rules.
Sarahi was 6 when she arrived in the U.S. and is now a proud college graduate. The 33-year-old is also a recipient of DACA, or Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, which requires renewal every 2 years and allows her to be the legal face of the family business.
We're making the community a better place, a safe place. We're not the target audience, but it feels like we are.
They're not going after the ones that have been here a long time.
Interestingly enough, during our time on Staten Island, the city's most Republican, conservative, and pro-Trump borough, everyone who we spoke with told us they did not believe the owners and staff at San Geronimo are ICE's target audience.
I understand there's a lot of law-abiding people that are worried. that are here illegally. I get that. But they're not after those people.
They deserve to be here just as much as I do.
It's good for the economy. What, are you kidding me? These people came over, they're working hard, leave them alone.
Back at the restaurant,
We don't want to be afraid anymore.
those friendly sentiments resonate with Edgar, the undocumented cook,
Y pues me gusta mucho mi trabajo.
and with Sarahi,
Thanks to my parents, I am who I am because they work so hard.
who says she will continue to strive for the kind of success her family could only dream about in their native Mexico.
And I'm here now representing them because they can't.
We thank Sarahi, her father, and her staff for bravely speaking up, and we're certainly going to check in with them to see how things are going. Coming up right after the break, an important discussion featuring a boots-on-the-ground perspective from one of our own here on the PIX11 News team, and valuable information from a prominent immigration attorney. Plus, we're taking you back to school, where there's a new take on how students learn about and celebrate Black History Month. It's an innovative curriculum for everyone. You don't want to miss it. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Should undocumented migrants with no criminal record be arrested and set on the course for deportation, even if their only offense is being in the country with no legal status? It's one of the pressing questions we're zeroing in on, and I have the pleasure of being joined by PIX11's Elisir Marte and immigration attorney Naresh Gehi. We're going to try to break this down, especially in light of these latest developments. And Naresh and Eli, thank you so much for joining us.
Jay, it's so good to be here with you, Naresh.
Yeah, I mean, I want to ask you, Eli, you're on the ground, you're talking to these families. What are you hearing from them in terms of their concerns and maybe their fears?
So, Jay, let's talk about, we've been reporting this extensively since January 23rd, right? When that ICE raid happened at the Fish Depot in Newark. And I want to break it down like this. 3 major factors. Number 1, collateral arrest leading to collateral deportation. That's number 1. Number 2, separation of mixed families. And number 3, there's that concern of being racially profiled. Number 1, collateral arrest. If ICE agents come into a place looking for that target, for that immigrant, undocumented immigrant with criminal records, right? That's the target, according to Homeland Security Secretary Norm and Border Czar Tom Homan. But what happens if, when they go to that particular place, they find other undocumented immigrants that perhaps don't have criminal records? I've learned from both covering this through Secretary of Homeland Security and Homan. They have repeatedly said that if they find undocumented immigrants, they are going to get detained and potentially getting deported as well. So
and that's the basis for the fear.
And that is. And then we go to the mixed families. I've interviewed a family from Patterson, New Jersey, a mother. She has 3 children. One of them, it's a 7-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 17-year-old. They were, all three of them were born here in the United States. She was born in Honduras. She came from Honduras 18 years ago. She told me, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know my plan. If I get sent back to Honduras, what am I going to do with my children? These kids were born here in the United States. She says they have the right to be American citizens, but clearly Donald Trump doesn't think that way, right? So that's number 2. Now, number 3, U.S. citizens, permanent residents of the United States, they are telling me, what am I supposed to do when I go outside? Am I supposed to have my green card with me? Am I supposed to have my birth certificate, my U.S. passport?
But I thought it was so interesting that the people who we met out in the neighborhood who were Trump supporters, 2 of them wearing Trump hats, they absolutely believe that ICE is not looking for families like the Marquez family and for the people who are working in that restaurant.
Well, what we think...
And there's a disconnect there.
Well, there is a disconnect, but what we know from our reporting is that ICE is going for that target of undocumented immigrants that have a criminal record, but during that raid, anything could happen, and anyone could be detained and potentially get deported.
Naresh, I want to bring you in here. What exactly is the White House saying about what happens when ICE agents show up at someone's house?
When they show up at someone's house, let's take it from 2 different perspectives. Number 1 is that once if they show up, generally they don't have a warrant. So the first thing the family needs to know is that unless they don't have a warrant, they cannot come into your house. But ICE officers have a tendency of being deceptive at times, wherein they will tell you that they have a warrant, but actually they don't have a warrant. And then they come in as the same thing what Eli said. They'll say, we are looking for this particular person. And actually they know sometimes that this person doesn't live here. Then they get into the house somehow and they pick up family members and take them from there. And even if they've been here for years, even if they don't have a criminal record, even if they've not done anything wrong, when they see that the person has overstayed the visa, or if they've had a prior deportation order from the past, even if they don't have any criminal record, they get picked up.
So what are someone's rights when they go to the door and they're confronted by a team of ICE agents?
The first thing they need to do is, generally in most families, there's always an extra family member there. Like, there are 2 or 3 people. So first thing is ask them, do you have a warrant? And you can even record them. Because in the past, in my experience as an attorney, I've seen that some of these agents tell them they have a warrant, but actually they don't have a proper warrant. So it's better to record them and keep all your kind of evidence in order. So what happens is that even if you get detained by immigration, and after that, if you're sent before an immigration judge, you can also file a motion to suppress by stating, Judge, that this was not a warranted arrest. But in the past, we did not have technology. I'm requesting people to make the best use of technology. And besides that, even when they knock on the door and they said that, do you have a warrant, start recording from that same moment over there.
I want to make it a point to say that we reached out to several people who have, a conservative stance, pro-Trump or conservative immigration policy positions, and all of them either told us that they were unavailable or they just didn't respond to our request. So for our viewers at home, we want to make it a point to say we did our very best to make sure that this discussion was balanced and had that other side. But we got a taste of it from what we were hearing out in the community.
Yeah, let me just tell you something real quick, Jay. I've interviewed people in the past 2 weeks that are pro-Donald Trump, people that are in favor of this immigration crackdown movement, let's say, right?
And what are you hearing?
Well, they're saying that a lot of them, the majority of them that I've interviewed are Latinos, and they are telling me, well, I came into this country 20 years ago, and I got my U.S. citizenship. I did it my way, so everyone has the opportunity of doing so.
Elisir Marte and Naresh Gehi, thank you so much for joining us. This is a really impactful discussion affecting so many of our viewers on both sides of the issue, not just for the migrant families, but also for employers, neighbors, friends. They have someone who in some way is going to be affected by what's happening. So thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Coming up, February is Black History Month, and we are taking a look at an important program that is being rolled out in New York City school system. It's a groundbreaking pilot program. It's changing the way New York City public schools learn about African-American pioneers and their history, plus a special delivery in New Jersey as 2 groups join forces to give back to families in need. Stay with us. At least 18 states and some cities have banned schools from teaching lessons that focus on the history and culture of Black people and other ethnic groups. But the opposite is taking place in the country's largest school district. New York City has adopted a Black Studies curriculum that's rolling out for the first time this school year. We went to one of the schools premiering the program. James Ford has the story from Harlem.
The song, called the Black National Anthem, begins the day at the Ralph Bunche School, PS 125 in Harlem. The song is just one part of the Black Studies curriculum that New York public schools have now adopted, with this school having the pilot program that all 1.1 million students citywide can follow. The program is much more than singing.
I decided to focus on Rosa Parks. It must be acknowledged because that's very important and very courageous of her to do that and start something like a boycott.
Here in 5th grade, students have researched figures and issues in Black history, and on Fridays, parents are invited in as well.
It's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing.
And across the hall,
when I saw our community in New York City, it looks really dirty, and I think people really don't like that.
4th graders explain how they're making art to point out and take action about issues affecting the Black community and the community at large, including environmental impacts.
The rivers don't look that clean anymore. You could see trash in them, and I think we should change that.
Lift every voice and sing.
And while the 125-year-old Black national anthem is a vital part of U.S. history, these 3rd graders are adding to the historical songbook.
United for a cause, lift every voice and sing. We're the way to freedom, Lord, with solidarity.
They showed their parents how they can write their own 2- or 4-sentence anthems.
We worked together and we shared our ideas to see what worked.
He has a message and he's not afraid to say it. He's safe here.
It's all part of the Black Studies curriculum. One teacher told us that if they're doing this right, we should see remarkable results in policy and other areas when these kids are grown-ups. That's because the people who designed and implemented the curriculum say it's meant to promote Black history and culture that we can all relate to beyond the classroom and into the future.
We center Black and Brown experiences, Black and Brown voices, and that betters every child in our school community.
For Community Close-Up, I'm James Ford.
Thanks to Dr. Ford, as we like to call him in the newsroom, for that great report. Coming up, fighting food insecurity in New Jersey. Meet the extraordinary volunteers who are on the front lines making a difference for themselves and in their own community. There are too many of us out there who perceive people with disabilities as the one in need of help or service. But a nonprofit in Morris County, New Jersey is proving that's not always the case. In fact, this wonderful organization, Ark Morris, has joined forces with a local food pantry to give back to their community by distributing fresh groceries to families in need. PIX11's Katie Corrado is here with an inspiring edition of Our Community, Your Voice.
Irene Zhao spent a recent Friday morning helping others, first by bagging produce,
tied them up in a box,
and then helping distribute it to neighbors in need.
I've had celery, pineapple, and broccoli.
Irene is a client at Ark Morris, a nonprofit serving more than 300 teenagers and adults in Morris County who live with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
The work that we do is some of the most meaningful, incredible work. I mean, I could get teary-eyed talking about it, actually.
Ark Morris teamed up with the Interfaith Food Pantry so its clients could experience the joy of volunteering. The two groups have been next-door neighbors for years, but never officially partnered up until now.
This was a really great opportunity to engage the Ark Morris clients and have them work directly with our customers.
Great job. Volunteers from the Knights of Columbus assisted Ark Morris clients in packing up produce. They carefully bagged up apples, carrots, potatoes, and tomatoes before distributing it in the pantry's marketplace.
They get the benefit of serving their community and the dignity of that, helping other people in need when, they themselves have been helped too. So it kind of reminds them what it's all about.
Oranges?
And gives them the opportunity to feel like they are part of something bigger than themselves.
It really makes you feel good. That, it's not about yourself, it's about helping our neighbors.
And those neighbors are thankful.
Thank you. That money that I save from here, I can use that for anything like for bills, gas, and everything else, so it's a plus.
The executive director of Ark Morris hopes the experience is one that clients like Irene can build upon as they continue growing and learning.
perhaps they can gain an understanding of employment and begin to prepare themselves to become more self-sufficient. People shouldn't be set in a facility, but rather be out in the community and fulfill their goals and dreams.
For Community Close-Up, I'm Katie Corrado.
You know, in the business, what I'm about to say next is called a call to action, and we are so grateful for all of the messages and emails. We want to hear from you. If there's something going on in your community, let us know. Send us an email to communitycloseup@pix11.com. I'm your host, Jay Dow. On behalf of the entire Community Close-Up team, thanks so much for watching. See you next time on PIX11 Community Close-Up.